Allahu Akbar shooter targets Jewish man near synagogue. On October 26th, 2024, a 39-year-old Orthodox Jewish man was ambushed and shot multiple times while on his way to a synagogue in Chicago. The shooter, identified as 22-year-old, I've also seen 23, Sidi Mohamed Abdallahi, allegedly approached the man from behind, fired multiple rounds into his shoulder, and later shouted Allahu Akbar as he exchanged gunfire with responding police officers and paramedics. Like, if you they spent like 2.5 minutes in a shootout with this man. That is a very long time. It's crazy. The way this went down was crazy. The video footage captured the chaos as Abdullahi fired towards an ambulance and a man walking his dog before disappearing into an alley, only to reemerge and engage with officers in gunfire for 2.5 minutes. I still can't get over it. Like, that's such a long time. Now facing 14 felony charges, Abdullahi, reportedly an asylum seeker from Mauritania, according to the New York Post, was charged with terrorism on October 1st, with Chicago Police Superintendent Larry Snelling emphasizing, quote, "We will never tolerate violence that's rooted in hate and bigotry." Evidence of targeted anti-Semitism was reportedly discovered on the suspect's phone, a revelation that has amplified fear among Jewish communities already on edge from the global rise in anti Semitic incidents following the Hamas Israel conflict. The shooting has sparked citywide calls for justice as residents demand reassurance that the streets will be safe from such violent hatred. Authorities have stated that the attacker acted alone and say that there is no reason to fear a network of similar attacks. So this was a big story that happened here in the US last week. And this was very important because there was actually a big outcry from the community because at first this man was not being charged with hate crime or terrorism offenses. And people were furious because they're like, let me back up a little bit. One thing that I think is really important for people to understand is that regardless of all the rhetoric that people might hear, basically falsely conflating Islamophobia with anti Semitism, I believe that's a false comparison, in my opinion, that these are not comparable. And that even if we use the correct term like anti Muslim bigotry versus anti Semitism, in terms of who faces the highest degree of hate crimes in the United States, it is Jews. Jews face the highest degree of racially or religiously motivated hate crimes in the United States. People need to understand that. And it's by magnitudes. It's magnitudes higher. And I can't give you the exact numbers off the top of my head. I just know that as long as I've been paying attention to the FBI hate crime statistics that they put out every year, it's always Jews as the highest percentage or proportion to the population, whatever
Some,
statistical
so,
measure they use.
someone's gonna say FBI is run by Jews, so
I mean,
you
maybe
can't
it
say.
is. Okay. Okay. And this is one of those situations where once again the Jews didn't come in number one and we wish that they didn't. Okay. You know what I mean? Um, sorry, that was a bad joke. So basically, that being said, and this has been going on for years. This is, I mean, it's gotten a lot worse since October 7th, but this is not new. That's what I want to highlight to people. And what's important for people to understand is that a lot of this is targeted towards people that are visibly Jewish. A lot of it is targeted towards
Oh,
people that are Orthodox Jews because, they oftentimes
so
dress in a very specific way, especially if you get into the real like Hasidim, like bod guys. They have almost like a uniform that they wear, right? It's a very specific look that belongs to that community. And then there are people that get assaulted because they're wearing like a kippah, etc. But it's oftentimes these visual signs of being Jewish, like through dress, and that lends people to become targets. And I want people to really understand that. So this man is a literal example of this. This is an Orthodox man who, although the police kind of used all sorts of weird language to talk about it at first, because they're like weren't really being transparent about if he was being targeted for being Jewish. But witnesses to this attack, when asked by the media who was the victim, they said, "Oh, it was a Jewish guy." Like everyone who witnessed it was like, "Oh yeah, no, this is a visibly Jewish man." Like it, so people are like, "I don't know, I don't think that this is a coincidence." And it took a long time for the authorities to come out with, I mean, a long time. It happened on October 26th, and then by November 1st is when the hate crime and terrorism charges came through. And there's a big outcry in the community because those charges weren't coming down at first. But and I was outraged as well. And then when the hate crime charges did come down, as an update after we published this, um it stood out to me that actually this is a matter of the police being thorough in their job. Like, because that is a very specific kind of offense. You need very specific evidences of that person's animus towards that community to be able to actually hopefully find that person guilty as charged. You know what I mean? Like, we can't just throw it around. We actually do need to substantiate this in a very specific way. And it's going to take the police a little bit longer to find that kind of information, um, versus, oh, well, obviously he's getting felony charges for shooting at paramedics, shooting at police, shooting this man in the street, like all this stuff. Um, in terms of the attacker's background, like I said, the New York Post said that has alleged that he's an asylum seeker from Mauritania. Um, I don't know if that's true yet. The authorities have not really released that kind of information. Um, but I don't know. I think it's really important for people to understand. I wanted to talk about this to really inform people that regardless of what people may hear, it really is Jews in America that are the highest victims of this kind of crime. Um, so yeah, I wanted to bring that to everyone's awareness. Um,
I have a video of the shooting that we can show.
I
It's
would
very
rather
short.
not show that on YouTube.
I mean, it doesn't show anybody getting.
I know,
Okay.
but I would rather be cautious and not show that on YouTube.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna send a link to this article in the live chat, and also these links are always in the description.
Yeah.
So if you go down here, you could play the video. So this is the article. The link
Mhm.
is in the in the comment section in the live chat and also in the description. And this is the article. If you go down, you could play. You could. This is the video that you could
Yeah.
play of the shooting. Okay.
Um, yeah, so if you scroll down, you'll see a lot of people responding to this crime, like this person. So this is before the hate crime charges came down, and this is when the authorities were not speaking on if they're going to put forward those kinds of charges yet. And people are saying, no, this is a hate crime. There's no sugarcoating it. And then people were really critical of how the police responded to press briefings about this. Like they weren't, when being pressed to ask about it, they're not clarifying like what he was yelling, because a lot of people listen to the audio and they're like, he's yelling like Allahu Akbar. Like, what are you talking about? Um, they're not talking about motive, they're not talking about immigration status, all the stuff that people are very concerned about. Um, and well, they probably could have had a little better like PR training. I don't know. Now that more charges have come out and more information has come out, I think that they have a duty to be conservative when they don't have, proof positive of certain information. So I don't know. Uh so yeah. See, Chuck Norris is
Is this?
supporting my decision to not show the video on YouTube. Thank you, Chuck.
Oh. Also, B
Um
is saying show the press briefing. Is it basically this video? Should I show it?
yeah.
It's
Let's do
1 minute.
that.
It's 1 minute, so we could judge because a lot of people were angry with this. So you guys could be the judge of whether or not this is outrageous or not.
There was something stated from that individual while he was exchanging
Oh, I can see that why this would trigger people. Like he's instead of saying he was shouting Allahu Akbar, he's saying there was something that was being stated. Okay, this is I can see why people are angered already. Hold on.
There was something stated from that individual while he was exchanging gunfire with officers.
What did he say?
And if I may, Chief of City, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Somebody asked them, what did he say? He ignored that question.
Sure, without getting into anything too much, the statement that was made while he was engaging our officers is nothing that we could bring in as evidence at this point that would support any motive against his actions towards our officers as well as towards our victim.
Was it believed to be English, another language? What?
Wow. Okay, that is this is
I actually
this is,
disagree though. That this
uh,
kind of thing is more of I actually kind of disagree. Look, I'm no lawyer, but I believe that this is really the responsibility to bring forward proof of these statements and the importance and the intention and infliction upon that event. I believe that is actually the responsibility of the attorney general and the prosecutors.
yeah, but they're not asking you to tell us the motive. They're asking you about things that happened. You don't have to interpret that. If you don't want to call it a hate crime yet until it's investigated, okay, fine.
No,
We'll
but it is
wait.
part of the prosecutor's job, and they're not at the level of bringing in prosecuting yet. It's part of the prosecutor's job to establish the facts and the nature of the facts. And so, to a point, I don't know. The police have to be certain levels of conservative because it can actually mess up court proceedings later on if they're not careful with what they say.
Okay.
I
don't know
understand why
what
people are
standards
pissed. I get pissed too, but I don't know. I think that they have to be very cautious because it has implications
But
for the legal
okay, maybe you're
proceedings.
right. I don't know what the standards are, but but I think there's a double standard here because they're saying the other stuff okay. So this is not about their interpretation or passing judgment or come up with motivations. The journalists are specifically asking the things that happened there, right? I think they should be able to say that, and I don't understand why they're answering the other things that happened except this one. Do you know what I mean? Like, why is there a double standard? Because when it comes to describing what happened, they don't hold back regarding other details, but anything that it seems like if somebody accuses these police of being woke, I mean, I could see why. But let's maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. But I consider me triggered. Okay,
Chief of City, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure, without getting into anything too much, the statement that was made while he was engaging our officers is nothing that we could bring in as evidence at this point that would support any motive against his actions towards our officers as well as towards our victim.
Was it believed to be English, another language? What did he say?
We're not going to be able to put out that information right now because I want to make sure I'm not misstating anything. And so
exactly, this is part of the piece. She is doing her job. She's protecting the proceedings of the prosecution so that they can actually hold this guy accountable.
Fine. Okay, good. It's okay. Okay, guys, I'm gonna accept this. Okay, support the police.
So we can coordinate through the Office of News Affairs because I am certainly not going to.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, this is not something that they're hiding because eventually it will come out. You know, they know that eventually this will be reported. So what's the point of them? They're not trying to. Okay, I'm gonna go to on Susie's side because this is an information that they will eventually be reporting on. They're just being careful initially. Okay,
if
fine.
They put their foot in their mouth. It could actually result in the entire case being thrown out if they're not careful with what they say. I understand that it's infuriating. I get that. I feel that way too. But like, they're actually doing their job. It's not their role to create a statement of fact. Like, that's the prosecutor's job.
Okay, I'll accept that. But also be understanding why this smells like woke BS initially because
you don't have to tell me that.
Yes, okay.
We can coordinate through the Office of News Affairs. because I am certainly not going to misspeak and have there be any misunderstanding about the statement. So as appropriate, we will get that information out through News Affairs.
Yeah, so fine. She's like, you will get the information will come out. Like, we're not saying it right now, but it will come out. Okay, so they're not trying to hide it. I'll take my outrage back.
And is the suspect a resident of Chicago? Is the suspect a citizen of this country?
That is still under investigation right now. Right now, we're trying to identify a valid address. So we're still working on that information right now.
How soon could you make a decision about whether hate crime charges will be recommended?
When evidence of the facts present themselves.
Okay, fine.
They're doing their job. I know it takes time. I know it seems insane, but they actually did do their job. And when they found evidence, they brought down those charges. Yeah, Zach is saying, I'm with Susanna this time. We should be willing to be a bit patient. The Southport thing to me seemed totally different. That looks like a cover up to me. We're going to be talking about that Southport situation next week, guys, because I'm losing my mind. I am losing my mind. But we got to save that for next week. So make sure to tune in next week. But let's go to the next story, because this is...
I just want to say Angie disagrees with us, which is good, which is fine. We're going to have a diverse set of opinions about these things. Okay, this is actually healthy for us to like have different interpretations of what just happened. Okay, so it's fine. You know, but we are behind time, so we need to move on to the next news. But we have a super chat.
Oh, sorry, I just started thinking about the Southport thing again, and I'm losing my mind again. I need to focus. Bera gave a 100 Swedish krona super chat. Thank you so much. How generous. Saying greetings from Sweden.
Well, greetings back to you.
Do you know who makes the most amazing, gorgeous, and other adjectives that I can't use here on YouTube, blasphemous art ever? We do! And for some reason, we are giving it away for free. Download them now using the link in the description before we change our mind.